Welcome back to the Nurse Mamas podcast. Let's chat about what to reflect on or setting any goals for 2026. So, when you have a baby, they get into a routine, right? Where they sleep for a certain amount of time, they're awake for certain wake windows, and you're kind of used to what's happening. And then they throw it out the window. And then you've got sleep regressions, teething, dropping a nap when you just thought you cracked the code and had a routine down. This is not linear. Postpartum feels like chaos a lot of the time. It's a constant cycle of adjusting, adapting, surviving, repeat. So typically, when you're thinking of like New Year's resolutions, you're thinking like, this is exactly what I want my year to look like. And that does not work when you have a tiny um, child that is depending on you to keep them alive. You can't do it the same way when, like, especially like if you hadn't had kids before and this is your first kid. I haven't had a second, so I cannot say for sure, but I'm pretty sure. Um, every time you have something new happening, the routine has to change. So if you have more than one child, that changes the routine too. That changes how you respond to things. And your entire year just feels like a game of plot twist where you look back and you're like, what's even changed? What progress have I made on any health goals? Because as soon as I started trying to exercise again, I wasn't able to get a full night's sleep for 3 weeks. Or maybe you got mastitis and it threw your health goals out the window. Like there's so many things that can happen. And there's so many more transitions during like the first 2 years than you've gone through in like the last decade. So you got to give yourself some grace. But let's go through a guided reflection. And I want you to think about this from not critiquing what you didn't do, not feeling guilty about what you wish you had done better, but helping you see the strength, growth, and resilience, those small wins that get buried under the chaos. So, reflection is something that a lot of people skip over. And it's one of my favorite things. Like, I'm releasing this episode during the week between Christmas and New Year's specifically because it's a time of year where we don't know what day it is. Um, it just kind of gets lost. And I love that. I think that's such a great time to slow down and reflect on the year behind us before we jump into the next year when we're making goals. And we're doing a challenge the first week of January to really focus in on that. But before we do that, I think it's a great time to reflect. So, since it's one of those things that gets skipped, it's the exact same thing that's going to help you feel more aligned. It's going to make it so that you can set more sustainable goals because you can look at what you've been going through and adjust to what is going to be the most sustainable going forward. So, this episode is designed to give you some clarity before stepping into the challenge next week, where we're doing that resolution reframe. Um, and if you're not enrolled in that yet, go ahead and use the link in the show notes to register for the challenge and get into the Nourished Mamas community already. Because we're doing that from the 5th to the 9th. But right now, let's do that after the episode is over. But right now, let's just take a few minutes and think about the constant changes, um, approaching what you're seeing with compassion instead of criticism, and then thinking about ways that worked well for you this last year and adjusting or things that drained you that you don't want to do in the future. So I'm going to give you some journal prompts and you can listen to them all the way through. That's what I would recommend is listen to it all the way through. I'll drop the prompts in the show notes as well, but I'm going to walk you through them. And then you can either re-listen to it and pause between each one, or listen to it all the way through. And then at the end, you can look at the show notes, write them down in your journal, and just go nuts. Um, so if you're in the car, come back to this episode and look at the show notes later. Because I don't want you to be driving distracted, obviously. But let's dive into some journal prompts. So, what are some of the transitions that you navigated this year, whether they were expected or not? The first of which, I had my son in 2024. So I've had a little bit of time to adjust, but we've gone through sleep regressions, feeding changes, going into solids. I've gone back to work. I've changed jobs. I've moved 3 times, I've moved 300 miles and then I moved literally down the stairs during the second one. Um, so we had to navigate that. And we're navigating dealing with our pets, with my cat, and how needy he gets, and making sure I spend enough time with him. Um, my dog, who tends to be a bit really reactive, so we have to be really like on top of getting her enough playtime so that she is tired out. She's a working dog. Um, so, like, think about some of the transitions that you went through this year. Um, write those down and just give yourself that moment to reflect on what's gone on for you this year. Did you go back to work? Did you change jobs? Did you leave work when you had your kid? What has your life looked like over 2025 that is just totally different because of motherhood? And even if it's not to do with motherhood, like my our moves didn't have anything to do with us having our son, but it definitely impacted our lives around it because for a long time he was sleeping at the foot of our bed, and we had been used to him having his own room for a while. Like when he got out of the bassinet, he went into his own room in our previous townhouse, and then we moved into a one-bedroom apartment where it was just the three of us and our dog like on top of each other all the time, and then to being able to spread out again. And so like that was a put everything, and dealing with moving boxes and a toddler who wants to get into everything and a dog who wants to steal the moving boxes and eat them all. She likes to rip them up when they're empty, so that's all its own thing. Second journal prompt I want you to look at is, where did you show up for yourself this year, even in tiny ways? Did you find a snack system that works really well for you? Were you able to set a boundary for yourself to get some more sleep, ask for help, and making sure you had time to take a shower? Were you able to set time aside to go for a walk? Um, I usually either walk my dog at night. So we do like a half an hour to an hour walk. Or if it's during the day, I've got the stroller as well. So it's like just trying to fit things in for me that are also beneficial for my dog, but then it's also great for my kid to go in the stroller and enjoy seeing the change of scenery without being able to touch the dog and be in her face all the time. So what are some things that you've done for yourself, even if it's tiny, like getting yourself a new water bottle that you can carry around as a support water bottle? Just journal that out. Now, the third one I've got for you is, what am I proud of surviving, learning, or becoming, even if no one else is seeing it? This can be really, really impactful for that compassion. Um, then the next one I've got for you is, what drained you this year and what do you want to leave behind in 2025? Are there any things that you thought you wanted to do as a mother that now that you are a mother, you're realizing like, oh, I'm not going to have a perfectly clean, minimalistic house. I actually have kid toys everywhere. And occasionally there's going to be dishes in the sink when I go to bed. Um, so what are things that drain you? Is it like those perfectionistic tendencies? Is it something where you feel like you are just trying to do too much? I left behind those high expectations that were just unattainable, basically. Between 2024 and 2025, I let go of a lot of things that were just super draining and super stressful. Um, and then think about what moments brought you joy, ease, relief. If contact naps bring you joy, you can be nap trapped all you want. The dishes can wait. Meal prep can wait. Feeding yourself can't, so keep some snacks where you get nap trapped. Just saying. Same with water. If you are nursing, keep that water like wherever you're going to be sitting in nap traps. Like, just take my word for it. Alrighty. Here's the next one I've got for you is how have you grown emotionally, mentally or physically over the last year? Like what have been some changes in that regard? And then I like this one a lot. What support do I genuinely need to feel more like myself in 2026? So when I was newly postpartum, we were living a lot closer to family, but I was working out of my house a lot more. So I relied a lot on family. I relied on a nanny when I was working full time at a job that took me an hour away from my house every day to and then from. So I would have someone that was there to take care of my. While she was there, I asked her to also do some cleaning. Um, and that was funny because she was always like, "You guys cook more than anyone I know," which is true, which is why I have the recipe vault and all of the resources that I have. Because I cook all the time. And so sometimes I need a little help with dishes and putting things away. Um, and that little bit of extra help with cleaning while my son was really little. Like this was between when he was like 3 months old when I was off of maternity leave through about when we moved down here. We had nannies on and off. Well, for the first, I think, 4 months during that time, we had a nanny, and then we switched to daycare for a while. Um, that was something that drained me. That is something we left in 2024 because when we moved from northern Utah to southern Utah and we're able to free up our schedule a little bit more so that either I or my husband could be home with our son, like we didn't get sick every week anymore. It's like, okay, we're not putting Elijah back in daycare if we can avoid it. So we've been a lot healthier because of that, because that was just one of those things where every single week he seemed to be coming home with something that he would pass on to us. Um, but yeah, basically it was it was chaos. So think about these journaling prompts. Go ahead and spend some time on this. Um, you don't have to do it all at once. You can come back to it, or you don't even have to write it down. You can do like voice to text in a Google Doc if that's easier for you to just like journal it out by speaking. I'm an external processor. That's why I have a podcast. I like to say things out loud. I am not a blogger. I really tried to be a blogger for you guys. I tried for over a year and I ended up archiving there when I'm speaking. So I do even my courses, I will do the drafts by speaking it and then going through and recording it. And then with these episodes, I do like bullet points and then I look over at those and make sure I don't miss anything. But like that can be a great way to journal is you can do it through voice to text so that you don't miss anything. Um, and then again, if you want some help over the next week, go ahead and sign up for the challenge. We're going to be doing reframing your postpartum goals, not post, well, yes. We're reframing your New Year's resolutions to match your postpartum season where you're at. We're going to break out of that all or nothing cycle, all of the diet culture nonsense that our society loves to throw at us with the bounce back everything as new moms, and just build on some small habits to get some momentum going. That's going to be the 5th through the 9th. Go ahead and sign up for that if you haven't already. Um, if you're listening to this episode after January 5th through the 9th, the Nourished Mamas community has a ton of other resources in it, um, including the podcast, including the recipe vault. So you can still join the Nourished Mamas community, even if it's after January. I try to run challenges like this about once a quarter. The last one was in September. This one is obviously in January. So there's always something going on in my world, basically. So go ahead and join that. And I really appreciate you guys checking in to this reflection on 2025 before we head into 2026. And I will talk to you in the new year.